Good morning, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and the reason why I'm recording so early is because I don't anticipate having time later on today. And also, before I get into what I actually intended to do, which is kind of a little bit of a special day, this Gallup poll right here, I really actually do like Gallup's methodology. So I have started including them in my model, but this is a lot higher than they've previously indicated. For example, I go here, well, maybe not a lot higher, but previous poll they released was there, and then everything was it was pretty bad for a while. But that is a lot higher than you would have expected. That's almost Obama territory, if we're 100% honest. So, anyway, what I wanted to do, and I'll set this up, is because it's my birthday. I know, shut up. I decided to do what would likely happen if I were to run for president. So, chances are, even though I consider myself, a native of Georgia, again, I have a very complicated family history, but Georgia is what I would consider my home state. I currently live in Virginia. I went to college here in this part of the state where my mouse is. Circle it around a little bit, and I have a job, in this area, so like a real life job in this area. So chances are I would wind up being in Virginia if I were to go into politics. And I would shoot for the governor, and if I was to actually be in a position where I think it's reasonable for me to run for president, I would have actually achieved winning the governorship. But we'll get there in a second. And more than likely, of the two major parties, if I had to choose one, it'd probably be the GOP. And I'm going to use just the current political situation rather than try and figure out, what it's going to be in the 2040s. Even though 32 is the first year I can run officially, I would never run in 2032. So let's get rid of the solid states first. We'll talk about Texas. That's a solid states and electoral votes for both candidates. Not New Hampshire. And this is just going to be based off of my confidence. So, a fairly wide battleground. Now, as a Southerner, I'm going to have a little bit more appeal in states like Georgia and North Carolina, and to a degree, Virginia. Outside of Northern Virginia, I mean. And Virginia, I'm going to have a little bit extra boost, whereas normally I would have it as, leaning or even likely for the Democrats right now. A 7% swing, that's about what a president should get. And I'm actually going to do an honest-to-goodness analysis of a president's home state versus how much they improve over the expected result of a generic candidate in a little bit to find out, but as of right now, I expect 6 to 7% swing. I'm going to assume 7% for this video. Since I would be considered from Virginia, swinging that would put it into a leans towards myself category. North Carolina and Georgia I would also expect to perform a little bit better in than a generic Republican, because I'm from, I am from the South. While I haven't lived in North Carolina, there is a regional effect if you're from that area, to a degree. It's not a significant one. But Virginia, North Carolina, and Georgia all vote similar to each other, just at different points. Texas, I have a ton of friends there, but, it's also currently a state I would classify as likely Republican. I'm going to leave it there just because I don't think I'd really have much effect there. A lot of the state would be classified as Southwest rather than South. There's a portion that I would consider Great Plains, and there's a portion that I would consider, Deep South. Arizona, I currently classify it as leans Republican anyway. I wouldn't expect it to go crazy for me. Too crazy. Because the Southwest seems kind of libertarian in some ways. And if you look at my profile picture, it should be obvious. I consider myself a bit libertarian. I prefer the term classical liberal to describe my beliefs, but most would say, American-style libertarianism. Free markets and tons of individual liberty. And as far as I can tell in my limited, keyword limited, experience in these states, having gone through them a few times, but never really staying, Nevada and Colorado are both in that similar vein. They may be blue states, but they have tons of gun rights, but they also have, Colorado definitely has legal weed. I can't remember if Nevada does. Outside of one major population center, they're fairly rural. And I think I would appeal to a lot of rural voters. But I don't think it'd be enough to, I actually think it might be enough to flip Nevada, but it would not be enough to flip Colorado. Now we go to the upper Midwest. And as of right now, I'm not sure how I would appeal to, the white working class in this area. Yeah, I'm white. Yeah, I would consider myself working class. But at the same time, I also have a lot of personal tastes that I don't quite think would appeal to that group, because I love to read. I love digging into statistics. Now I say I love to read, I'm not talking about, I like to read, the sports page. No, if you looked at my bookshelf, it's got, tons of cookbooks. It's got tons of history books. I've got novels. I love Edgar Allan Poe. You'll listen to my music, and it's basically heavy metal, Rush, and other rock and roll. It's not your bar band music. At least not what I would consider bar band music, which is basically just AC/DC, but slightly less well produced. Which that's not a bad thing. I enjoy bar bands whenever I go to a bar, but my alcohol tastes are not exactly Bud Light and cheap whiskey. I enjoy. If I'm going to be drinking, anything with alcohol, and I actually want to enjoy the experience rather than just knock back a beer for the sake of knocking back a beer. Not above it, but most of the time I have zero problem. Most of the time I'd prefer to actually have something that I enjoy. But at the same time, I also believe that it's the individual that matters, and these people need representation as much as possible. And I believe I could make an appeal and I could make a pitch to the people of the Rust Belt, the upper Midwest. Hey, I may not be exactly what you're looking for, but I can tell you I'm going to fight for you. I may not agree with the unions, but it's my belief that you guys are the backbone of America. That type of thing. Because they really are, when you think about it. And I would encourage the proliferation of trade schools. For plumbing, for HVAC, mechanics. These are things that we need in America, yet not enough people are told that these are options. They're not pushed into these. They're told you must go to college, you must get a degree, you must get an office job pushing pencils. So I'm only going to lean Ohio and Iowa. Actually, I'll put Iowa in the likely category as it's an extremely rural state. And because I'm college educated, I'm actually going to lean this vote in Nebraska to myself, especially considering I'm a lot like other college-educated Republicans. I'm not hyper-conservative. I have quite a few even traditionally liberal or democratic views. AKA, I really could care less if a person is in the LGBT community. As long as they're a good person and they don't hurt anyone, I don't see the problem. So now it comes down to, let's talk about the live free or die state. I think I could make a very good and very convincing pitch there. Yes, I know it's the Granite State officially, but come on. I would definitely be calling it the live free or die state. And I'd be talking, and I would be hyping the state, hyping up New Hampshire, because let's be 100% honest, I could make that pitch. There's the whole Free State Project, It's a state that is very much in the vein of classical liberalism. Yeah, they vote Democratic in some offices, but hey, I don't care. They're mainly concerned about the social aspect of the Democrats. There's a reason they have a Republican governor. So I think I could make that pitch, but I'm only going to tilt it towards myself because I'm less certain about that. Maine, I'm not sure if I could drive turnout in the rural part of the state, aka the 2nd District, in order to win more than just that 2nd District. Would it be close? I would assume so, but I'm not sure I can make that pitch. So, down to Florida. Well, I'm a fan of a lot of Georgia sports, and Georgia and Florida are natural rivals. Just like anything from Alabama and Georgia are natural rivals, or Tennessee and Georgia being natural rivals, or South Carolina and Georgia being natural rivals, or Georgia and Georgia being natural rivals. Dang it, Georgia ruined Georgia. In all seriousness, though, sorry for the groundskeeper Willie meme, but in all seriousness, Georgia and Florida don't get along. But since I'm not as hardcore conservative as a lot of Republicans would wind up being, if I did somehow win the nomination, I think I could make an appeal to Floridians and the retired peoples, because I'm not there to take away their retirement benefits. My proposal, my belief in privatizing Social Security and making it a system that will actually last so that people can still confidently say, yes, this is a good system, would not involve changing anybody's Social Security benefits who are already drawing them. They're going to continue to receive it from, the Social Security Department in our government. But for future beneficiaries, they would have the option to have their portion invested in a private account. I think that is a subtle enough difference that I could potentially win Florida, but I would tilt it in my favor because it is a perennial toss-up state. No one really knows which way it would go. The other thing I would do is I would only time my run to go after a two-term Democratic presidency rather than on the heels of a Republican president. Going back up to these 4 states in the Rust Belt, Upper Midwest, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota. I don't think I could win Minnesota. As much as I'd love to, I don't think I could. Michigan, I might be able to make an appeal to, but I'll go ahead and say no. Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, yeah, I'm not so sure about Wisconsin, but it's what I would consider probably a true toss-up. Pennsylvania is a bit more conservative, and again, being moderate, I could probably do well in the collar counties, but also being, I would say, fairly rural, essentially a type of voter that lives in Pennsylvania, the rural T, I think I could do well there as well. So I'd have a way of expanding the battleground and winning back some suburban voters that just don't vote Republican anymore. Because I'm not the stereotypical Republican. And it would be very difficult to portray me as such. Because truth is, but I'm tilting it in my favor. So this is something similar to what I think a map involving myself would be, given when I would choose to run, rather than just a generic election. For example, if I was running after a 2-term Republican presidency, I would honestly probably expect to lose. Not West Virginia, though. I would be fairly confident in a Democratic victory at that point. And I would be a little skeptical as to whether or not I could actually win Virginia. But that's... I'm going to lean this towards me. But, like I said, I could make that. I could make it. Anyway, thank you all for watching and watching me indulge myself. I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy. Bye.